때는 2023년 8월 6일 사우디컵 게이머즈8 e스포츠 행사였습니다. 택뱅 리든이 초청받아 4강전 형식으로 진행됐는데요. 정명훈은 김태균을 꺾고 이재동은 성병구를 2대0으로 제압하며 결승에서 denong록이 성사되었습니다. 1, 2경기는 정명훈이, 3경기는 극적인 혈투 끝에 이재동이 따내며 세트 스코어는 2대1이 되었습니다. 과연 이재동은 5경기까지 끌고 나갈 수 있었을까요? 4경기 단장의능선 맵에서 펼쳐진 그 경기, 지금 함께 감상하시죠.
Slows them down.
All right, we're ready to go into our game at number 4. In the center left, in the blue, our Terran player. He is Fantasy. And his opponent here in the center right, in the red, he is Jaeodng.
As well, because very oftentimes on Heartbreak Ridge, we see Zerg players focus on heavy sunken defense because of the layout of the bases, and oftentimes into very fast ultra.
With Mutalisks with turrets alone, you can also drop the main as the Terran. There's a lot of spots to come in there. So, you know, growth is hard, and growth always matters first for Zerg in the matchup, and Jaedong.
He has played some masterful early and mid games. There's no question about that. Well, the drone from Jaedong comes up and starts getting some scouting going, just doing some light harassment. You know, the worker back and forth in StarCraft 1, if you're a StarCraft 2 fan that's watching right now, it's really different. The drones and probes actually can shoot from a further range than the SCV, so that's what Jaedong...
Way, and he's actually going to come in here and try to hit this SCV. Everything pretty well timed out here from Fantasy, but it's fun to see these mini games pan out in a game of Brood War.
The fastest command center you ever really see in the matchup, you know, going for it after a single supply depot. Of course, he has a wall, so he's not really going to be afraid of Zerglings or anything like that from Jaedong.
It's going to be very hard to tell. I think only time will be able to tell what exactly Jaedong wants to do.
Right now, Jaedong getting some lings out to kill off this SCV, which is nice, but the SCV actually got a lot of information while it was in there. The layer was actually about 8-9 seconds later than it normally is with this type of build from Jaedong. That may have to do with...
So we've got that third hatchery. Actually, a pretty common spot for that third hatch is to put it up there.
Yeah.
It grants some vision. It gives you some access to drops that could go on up there later on in the game.
Bust like a simply too sunken defense. Right. Like he actually has slightly more Marines than you normally have with this push out. And even small changes in numbers, of course, make a big difference. So that's 10 Marines, 2 medics, whereas normally it's going to be 8 Marines and 2 medics.
3 SCVs come out here. This should cause the Firebat to try to help defend.
SCVs, even a third SCV going to go down there, plus keeping those Firebats at home in the meantime. I believe he's making 3 Sunkens, which is exactly correct here.
And
wow, perfect play from Jaedong.
The Fantasy
flies right around where that Bioforce is, gonna start diving into the main base to look for damage. Fantasy, by the way, once again with just the 2 barracks into a very, very fast starport. So quite likely he's rushing into Valkyries here once again.
But let's see how this one goes this time around. He dives on the first turret, and the turret's not going to be... It is picked off at the last swoop in here. He's going to try to come through the bottom now, basically forcing the Marines to stim again and try to meet him somewhere else. Anytime he finds isolated Marines, he's going to take them head on.
He's slowing down the armory and the starport immensely, killing a lot of SCVs as well. I have to say, I like Jaedong's position here, and I believe he saw either your opponent is being a little bit sloppy, or maybe there could be a mech switch coming up.
That's a good point. Something tells me he might suspect it's just him being slowed down, but obviously he's going to be happy with that no matter what, right? There, but it's not there just yet. Meanwhile, a big attack in over here with the Lings. The Lings can target down the turrets while the Mutas do damage elsewhere, and Fantasy is on the ropes.
Yeah, he's actually dealing a good amount of damage. Those Lings didn't do as well as I think he wanted, but he's slowing down the starport once again. They got rid of a turret, so he's killing more SCVs over here. This is a lot of damage, Tasteless.
Yeah, and you know, he's taking full advantage of the fact that this is an odd high ground area. The Marines have to move up, and he can basically force them into a single file line.
That is somewhere that maybe Fantasy can start to turn this around.
All right, he's coming in with the Mutas again. He does a decent amount of damage, even just having like 4 to 6 to 8 Lings there with the group. And we still see more Lings and Mutas coming in here, and it does seem like Jaedong may be under the impression that he can basically overpower him here in this position.
He's really trying it right now, diving over and over and over, but that time did not go quite as well. He's lost a lot of Mutalisks now. Honestly, I've done well to keep that Marine medic count very low. He sees now that a Valkyrie will be coming out very shortly. Maybe he's... I was wondering if he was maybe waiting to try to snipe it, but no, he does back up. More Lings, and finally a third base in the bottom right.
And just steer these Lings away from this position, but again, you know, the infantry count's so low that when are you ever going to be able to push out on the map? When can you actually try to attack?
Yeah, you have to wait for critical mass. There's no question about that.
And without it,
that is a small little choke. So if you place them just right, they're going to be very powerful there defensively. But this is flat ground as well, so not quite as strong as expanding up a ramp, which this map doesn't have any bases like load if they try to engage this army. But this army is not very good against lurkers. So as long as you have enough lurkers, it looks like we have 2 lurkers. Normally you'll make the egg in front of those to screw up Marines trying to run in.
And so he can use these Valkyries to basically start to bait this out. And keep in mind, if you lose the Mutas here, I mean, this isn't that different from PvZ, where you can just start to kill all of the overlords. What?
Oh no, Jaedong could be in some trouble. 2 of the lurkers get picked off. Some good circling micro here from Jaedong, keeping everything alive. He's gonna have to scan again, I think, to probably kill this. Oh, the Scourge coming up, trying to get rid of those Valkyries, and just 4 Marines end up finishing off those lurkers. More lurkers coming in right now. The Mutas as well, but the Valkyries are dealing with those.
Marines!
FanTasy with some great micro, runs back there once again. More coming up, but the lurkers running ahead. Lurkers are pretty darn fast. So if they can get over there and burrow, Jaedong may be able to secure this third.
How are the Valkyries doing now? We know that the third is going to be fine, but he's starting to kill overlords off. And that means that the Zerg is going to get supply blocked if he loses just a few more.
Really needs to deal with that ASAP. A siege tank comes up in sieges. Not sure how many scans he has. It takes 3 siege tank hits to kill a lurker. So he's going to have to scan multiple times to break through.
Yeah, another tank comes down here. Seems like it's too ambitious here for FanTasy, but here we are. If Jaedong loses this base, he loses this game effectively.
That's very true. It's very sandwich attack here. Now, Scourge oh, and they do catch it, but enough Marines get out that some serious damage could occur here.
Yeah, Lings and Lurkers are going to come here from the other side.
He's going to run up and burrow. Is he going to get the engagement that he's looking for? Flanks from the other side with lurkers as well. But it looks like FanTasy is dealing with this flank beautifully.
What? He runs around. It's a lurker. The lurker's not in range of the tank. Oh my God. The tank is picked off. We're back to square one.
But FanTasy has done a lot with a little here. That flank from Jaedong, I was almost certain he was going to smash everything. And instead, he lost over half of his lurkers.
To drop. I think there may be a drop going into the main. I might be wrong. We'll see. But there is an overlord over there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he needs to go Hive here. First Defiler.
Yeah, and so these overlords are going to be picked off over here. Anything that he can get is going to be pretty handy. Now, I think he has Consume. Maybe not. Well, he has enough anyways.
Gonna go ahead, burrow those lurkers, push the Marines and medics back.
Yeah, he baits him out again. The push on the tank is real. Looks like he should be able to just barely save this one.
So painful. 8 health tank gets out just in the nick of time. 1 in the top right.
Oh my God. He's just going to start to elevator drop units in over here. He can keep unloading this. And the thing is, you know, how many Dark Swarms do you have for how many different attacks? He takes out the Hydra's Den, or almost does, excuse me, decides to dive onto the Lurkers when he sees the opportunity presenting itself, and the Lurker's killed.
And FanTasy is just breaking Jaedong all over the place. Jaedong on the brink of defeat.
He's just going to dive right on top of the Nidus Canal. He does take it out. There's 2 lurkers over here. Jaedong seems to be barely hanging on.
Clean out his main base, gets a Dark Swarm down there. The lurker's going to have to hold this by themselves with just a couple Hydras that are going to go ahead and morph. Hopefully that Nidus can finish up. He can't be losing this hatchery.
I think he is probably a few seconds out, by the way. And I think Jaedong's realizing there's just not much left that he can do. He drops the hatchery. There's a Nidus Canal that's going to finish again, so he can try to reclaim the spot.
And siege up there. Another lurker burrows, but I think you're right. It doesn't seem as if there's any more scans.
To drop right on top of the workers again, and a fire bat here. This time the lurkers are going to fall over at the bottom, and that's going to be it. GG! FanTasy is the Legends Tournament champion, defeating Jaedong 3-1.
Absolutely wild. FanTasy before Gamers8 completely retired.
해당 경기의 흐름은 이 경기와 비슷하게 흘러갔는데요. 테란이 병력 점심보다 태클을 빨리 타는 걸 알고 삼가스를 늦춰가며 좀 더 피해를 주려고 병력을 짜냈습니다. 하지만 생각보다 피해를 주지 못했고 삼가스 수비의 압박은 커져갔습니다. 결국 발키리 타이밍 때 삼가스 수비는 성공했지만 뮤탈은 다 녹고 이후 후속타 탱크와 함께 오는 압박에 계속 시달렸고 뮤탈이 다 녹은 결과 맵 특성상 드랍십 수비도 너무 까다로워졌습니다. 결국 드랍십과 5시에 대한 파상 공세가 계속 이루어지면서 빵구가 났고 뮤탈이 다 녹은 입장에서 적은 이리저리 휘둘리다가 게임을 내줄 수밖에 없었습니다. 다음에도 좋은 영상으로 찾아뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.